So this is a head that I've been making for one of the new puppets. It involves a smaller mouth than normal. So the original head itself was made from just different patterns that I've made myself. But the mouth plate is split, as you can see. So it's a regular mouth plate, but rather than being attached to two sides of the skull, it's only attached to the top side, and the bottom is just a loose jaw made of foam, held in place by the fabric that's then around the mouth plate. There's a bit of fabric on the back there, you can see, just to hold it stronger, but you can see at the sides where the hinges are on it, and it essentially just hinges on the back of the mouth plate itself, and it just gives it a much more a loose kind of thing. But if you see down the side, if I was going to add anything round the mouth, then it would obviously come down here, and it would just go around that actual bottom plate, so it would then sit in between and would open and close. The extra bits will be round, which I'll show you on the next one. This is a head that I've been creating. So the top part of this one is made from just the round head puppet pattern from Project Puppet. And what I did, instead of finishing off the mouth as that tells you, I actually sealed up the entire skull, and then I cut out a piece where the mouth shape would be, and it was a bit sort of based on a beaker style mouth, this one. So again, it's not quite a contained mouth, it's quite open, but it's the same thing of the mouth plate, just kind of sits on the bottom of the skull rather than actually being part of it. So whereas most of the patterns that you get have one combined headpiece where you put the mouth plate in the middle of it essentially, I tend to cut out part of the head pattern and only have the top half, and then like this you end up with a separate jaw part entirely, which again you can build round or you can leave it open like this one is. So this one kind of was to work not quite flat but slightly raised, so not full on beaker style but a little bit somewhere in between, so that it just makes it a bit different in action from the regular mouth plate on some of the other characters I've got. This was before it was all fit together and other parts added, and this was once I had added those parts. So now you can see I've put the foam underneath, obviously the fabric. The fleece is now round and sealed. You can see the definite stitching line along this one and the way this one's being done, but what will probably happen is that'll be covered by hair or whatever else. I wasn't particularly worried about that. It is possible to stretch the fabric and have no seam, or have the seam under the neck possibly, but again it's preference, that side of it. But you can just see it's hard to see inside this one because it's a bit dark with it being enclosed now, but you can just see the same style of mouth plate. This one I haven't put any fabric on the back of it yet, but you can just see again where it's literally the mouth plate is attached fully to the top half of the skull. The bottom half of the jaw is then built onto the bottom part of the mouth plate, so it just means that you can get a bit more flexibility, I think, than having to control the quite squashed mouths that you get on a lot of the patterns. And that's why I tend to most of the time take the pattern as it is, build it, and then I either cut the bottom jaw off entirely or I change it in some way, basically just so that I can get a better feel. So that in there is how I do that. And this is one of the older puppets I've had this. I've been using him for probably about 6-7 years or more now, and as you can see, I've got a bit of build on this one. So it's the same style, again loose bottom jaw which wasn't attached to the actual top part of the skull. Then you can see here I've just built cheeks inside, so it just makes it come out a bit at the side, a bit sort of towards a Waldorf and Statler type of mouth, those kind of. So you can just see there where the mouth kind of sits behind the rest of the skull and to the side of it, and you have the bits coming down the side. So if you extend those bits down before you put the fleece on, then obviously that's going to give you a more jowl effect, and the mouth will just come out between those. But a lot of it's just trial and error, and that's it.